Hi, I'm Ken Kingstead. I want to talk to you quickly about a topic that's probably discussed more than any other topic right now in the industry. And that's this. Do you need a customer development center? Or, better yet, a business development center? I tell you, I hear this oftentimes, and a lot of stores have said to themselves, yeah, geez, I've tried that in the past, and it didn't work out the way I intended. I have heard of stores out there that have done a great job when it comes to CDCs. It just wasn't me. Or, I'm a little skeptical. I heard they have a lot of failures. And I will tell you this, you're right. There are a lot of stores out there today that have failed. Unfortunately, because they got into the processes, not really understanding truly what they're trying to get out of it. Yes, I understand. You're thinking, what are you talking about? I want to sell more cars. I want to maximize my advertising dollars. And I'm with you 100%. But a CDC or a BDC is more than just a phone room with some people going back to making calls. I want to ask you a few quick questions because it really comes back to a few fundamentals. Process before people. And what do I mean by that? Well, I mean this. Answer the few questions I'm going to ask you. Think about these questions. What is your current steps to the sale? Do you know what they are? Most importantly, I know you know what they are, but does every manager in your store know what they are? And are they the same? You'd be surprised. I've been in many, many stores in the past 20 years, and you're right. There is a 12-step or a 10-step or a 6-step process, but are we all on the same page? I would encourage you to do the following. I would ask your managers individually to write down for you the steps to the sale. Have them tell you what each point's about and why they're doing what they're doing at the point they're doing it. And I want you to do it if you could. I know it takes a little time, but do this. Trust me. If you do this here, you might find out maybe we're not all on the same page going the same direction. That's very important. And again, on the steps of the sale, who's accountable to make sure that that's actually happening? How are you measuring your success or your failures on the steps of the sale? Second thing is this. How are your walk-ins when they come to the front door? How are they being gathered, and how are you tracking those? In other words, let me ask this question. Are you tracking all the information that you need? Are you getting 2 and 3 phone numbers? Are you getting email address, names, and phone numbers? Are we getting all the information, ad source, type of customer, all these things? How are we getting it? On what percentage are we getting it? Are we at 50%, 75, 90%? Or where are you right now? Good question to ask your managers. Thirdly, what is your follow-up procedures today on your unsold prospects? Very, very important. Is there a process? Most dealers will tell me this. We've got a process. I see my guys making phone calls all the time. I understand that. But what is the process specifically? Is there a day after when they leave the dealership? Is there a 3-hour call, a 1-day call, a 3-day call, a 10-day call? Who's measuring it? Who's holding it accountable? What's it all about? What's our result from those calls? How many appointments? How many shows? How many sales at the end of the month do we get from our follow-up process on our unsold prospects? Good question. Also, do you have a phone-up process established? What do I mean? In other words, most dealerships I go into, there is a phone-up process, but guess who developed it? The receptionist. Yes, she takes all the calls. She's the bank, if you will. Calls come to her, and she divvies them out to whoever she wants to. Or sales dial the operator. Or sales call line 5. And then when the call happens, what's the result? And realize that NADA says that like 95% of the calls that get handled by a salesperson in the dealership get blown. They give out the information, too much information overload. So what is your current process for handling incoming calls? Most importantly, who's accountable for it and how are you measuring your success? And by the way, average in the country right now is between 2 and 3% net delivery ratio to incoming phone calls. Pretty pathetic, actually. Also, do you have a prospecting process established to your unsold customers, friends, and family? Is there a process for calling those people, or references, or referrals? How do you know? Is it working well? Who's accountable? These are great questions to begin to ask yourself. And if you haven't got the answer to all these questions, you know what? You might need a BDC. The question is this, though. Finding the company that does all this for you is fundamental to getting you to the next level. You don't want to go with some just brand new company who hasn't got a tried and true process established. Another question for you. Owner base, follow-up. Do you do it? 90% of the sales people out there, they don't do it. Why? They've been paid. They don't want to call them again. They've been paid. Plus, they don't want to open up a can of worms with a few problems. Listen, I'm just telling you, I'm reporting stats to you right now. 90% don't call them. If you want to develop your business, where should you look? And you know this better than anybody. Within your owner base. You want to build your business within your business, obviously. Also, E-commerce. E-commerce is a huge area. Are you tracking it? Do you have a process established? What's the result of that process? And then again, we can go through many. These are just thought starter questions, I call them, to kind of get get thinking along the lines of what am I doing currently? I'll tell you this here. We help dealerships all over the country in the past 20 years develop tried and true processes in building their CDCs and their BDCs. If you want to grow your business, this is the first place you want to look, incoming phone calls. I mentioned something to you earlier. 2 to 3% of all calls that come into the dealership get delivered. That's pathetic. That's pathetic. I spoke at NADA the other year, and my topic was Stop the Bleeding, turning customer dialing into dealership dollars. I tell you what, if you're average, you're probably getting 3%, maybe 5% if you're doing a really good job on phone ups. You need to be at 10%. Rule of thumb, if you're selling 100 cars right now, that means you're probably getting 250 phone ups. 2.5 is a factor you use typically to give you a ballpark. You're getting 250 phone ups. If you're being average, it's about 9 sales. You ought to be at 25. Now, why aren't you at 25? It's the process. When people take the incoming phone call, it's more or less a dance. It's not a tried and true process like the steps to the sale, although it should be. But it goes back to training. It goes back to finding the right company to give you that stuff. And that's what we're here to talk to you about. Also, so if we can close the gap on 3%, that's 9 deals versus the 25 where you ought to be, you can see there's a tremendous amount of opportunity there to pick up. The second area I would look at, if I was in your shoes, thinking about BDC or not BDC, would be floor-up follow-up. Realize that if you are closing 20% of your customers that walk through the front door, and I know you may think, well, I can do better than that, I do 30%. Bottom line is this, are you tracking everybody? Or are you tracking the customers that you desked? Again, I'd say that if you're average, the average store in America, according to NADA, is at 16% closing rate on fresh walk-ins. So let's say you're doing better than that. Let's say you're doing 20%. That means 80% are leaving. Bottom line, unacceptable. Why did they leave? Well, it was the money, it was the machine, possibly, it was the credit, possibly. There's many reasons why. But if we call them back intelligently with keywords and phrases, create some excitement to come back, create some flexibility in terms of their down payment, maybe get a cosigner, etc. Intelligently, not just calling and shooting in the dark, but with systematic, tried and true processes, we should be able to get at least 30% of those to commit to an appointment. Half of those show, and about a third of those roll. So at a 100 store, you got about 500 ups coming in. You sell 20% of those, that's 100. You got 400 that didn't buy. We should be getting a minimum of 80 appointments. 80 for sure, minimally. And half of those are going to show with no confirmation calls. I encourage confirmation call by a manager. But if you don't do that, at least 40 will show. You'll close about 30 of those, 36% of those. So you can see you can pick up some incremental business on the phone up, incremental business here on our follow-up. And finally, one area we got to work on is our owner base. According to NADA, they say this, that 62% of the owners that you sell, or people that you sell today, have people in the family that are going to buy in the next 6 months. So if you're selling 100 cars a month, that means you probably got about 62 of those people who know someone that they live with that's going to buy a car in the next 6 months. Would it be fair to say if we were proactively attacking our owner base, we could get 10% of those, or maybe 6.2 of those? I think so. So if you look at a little plus a little plus a little bit of improvement, intelligent callbacks to our unsold, a little bit of improvement to our phone ups, a little bit of improvement with our owner base, guess what? It can equate to maybe 25 or 30% more in volume per month. The bottom line is this. There's a lot of stores out there, a lot of people you can look to get help. But when you pick somebody, make sure you pick the people who've got a process. There is no cookie cutter process in this business. If someone tells you there is, guess what? Run. Keep your money and run, because you know what? There's not. You're in business and you're a success already. But if you want to go to the next level, you got to look at what can I do? What you're doing right now, if you're selling 100 cars a month, it's like 1 plus 1. You're getting a result. If you want to go to 150, you have to change the formula. 1 plus 1 doesn't work for 150 if it's bringing you 100 right now. Spending more money is not the answer. Heck, in my own stores, we've doubled the ad budget to $500,000 a month in advertising. It only moves the needle a small percentage, about 8%. The reality is this. There's a sweet spot in advertising. And you know what? You can maximize that point in terms of this sweet spot, but then you got to maximize these other areas in terms of the business development of your business. And again, that's what we're here to do for you. If you want information to grow this process, let us know. That's what we're here for. We know there's a tremendous amount of opportunity for you to get to the next level. Think about this here. Where's your store in terms of its true potential? I mean, really analyze yourself. Are you maximizing each of those points we talked about first up? Steps to the sale, how are we getting our information in terms of our walk-ins, our follow-up, our owner base, our e-commerce, our reference and referral calls. Are you at 100% in each of those categories, or is there room for improvement? The bottom line is this: a BDC and a CDC is not just a phone room. Just like your F&I department, it's not just an F&I department. There's a lot of things that go around it to make it work. The bottom line is this: if you want to grow your business 20, 30%, spending more money in advertising isn't the solution. It's maximizing what you've already spent, getting your people, whether it be the salespeople or hired people to make those calls, to come to work day in and day out with the right strategies, with accountability from management. If that's what you're looking for, give us a call. We'd love to help you. Remember, again, my name is Ken Kingstead. We'd love to get you to the next level. If you got any questions or concerns or anything at all, please give us a call. Until then, have a super day. Take care.